Hello. Today I will be talking about the manuscript paintings depicting the story of Div Akvan throwing Rustam into the sea by Ferdowsi in Shahnama or Book of Kings. I became interested in this topic when I found this painting in an auction catalog for Iranian and Indian art. This painting inspired me to research more about this demon and the meaning in Persian art and literature. My research included literature review and reviewing illustrations for publications of different Shahnama manuscripts of the story, and looking for illustrations of the story of Div Akvan and Rustam online. 3 questions will be answered. First, how does the portrayal of the Div Akvan reflect the preferences and sentiments of Persian culture, the courts, and the particular artists? 2. What are the three possible interpretations of good and evil in the story? And 3. How does the illustration of the Div Akvan change in later paintings in India and with the invention of the lithograph? What is the Shahnama, also known as the Persian Book of Kings? It is an epic poem written by Abu Kazim Ferdowsi from 977 and 1010 CE. The Shahnama is part mythology and history, consisting of both stories or narratives and key historical memories of the ruling royal regimes. Stories about the kings, heroes, villains, and the moral consequences of their choice. The illustrations emphasize key themes in Persian history and are meant for an illiterate world. The Shahnama is made of 60,000 rhyming couplets. One way to understand it is to think of it like Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, where there are large stories and then smaller sub-stories. Even today, it is considered the Iranian national epic poem. It is written for the pre-Islamic period to 700 AD, right before the Arab conquest. What is Persian manuscript art? Persian manuscripts were handwritten documents or books illustrated with miniature paintings within the text. Together, the text and the image complement and communicate the story. Images are painted with opaque watercolor and ink on paper as part of the manuscript. Illustrations were information on how the text should be read and hints at how it should be received by viewers and readers. The choices of which stories would be illustrated reflect what is considered most significant or in the memories of the people, in the usually historical stories of kings. It was illustrated after 300 years for an illiterate or multiliterate audience. Scholars have said it was due to the Mongol rulers wanting to show support and pride in Persian history to legitimize their rule. It has also been said that the illustrations of this epic were often due to the political motives of the ruling Shah who commissioned these manuscripts. For the Shahnama, the prolific period of the production of the illustrated manuscripts were the 16th and 17th century. Paintings remained very similar during this period, as we shall see. After this period, other sources of influence were European and Indian, after 1640s. Most illustrations found in Iran in the Safavid or Isfahan and were said to reflect the taste of the kings and their courts. There is a great sense of mystery when the Shahnama is written about or discussed. I think it has to do with how often the Shahnama was rewritten and reinterpreted later by others. Writers have tried to recreate the original text by Ferdowsi, and scholars struggle to decipher between what is original and which texts were added later after Ferdowsi's death. Many manuscripts were separated into pages or folios and detached and sold to collectors. This adds to the attraction for collectors who want a page or folio of an original manuscript whenever possible. What is the story of Div Akvan throwing Rustam into the sea? The king had been informed by his royal herdsman that a wild ass has been killing his herd of horses. The king summons Rustam and asks him to stop the beast. Rustam obliges the king. He spent several days in the field seeking the beast. When he finally sees it, He sees that it has gold fur and a dark mane. Whenever Rustam comes close to capturing the ass, it disappears. Rustam then realizes that it's not an animal, but a demon disguised as one. After 3 days of unsuccessfully battling this beast, Rustam is tired and falls asleep on the ground. The demon, Div Akvan, sees his opportunity. He changes back to his own form and digs up the earth around Rustam and picks him up. This is the point of the story where it is illustrated. Rustam wakes up and realizes he's been caught. Div Akvan asks him how he wants to die. Does he want to be thrown against the mountain or cast into the sea? Rustam knows that demons have a propensity to do the opposite of what they're told. Since Rustam knows that he can fight the monster in the sea and then swim to shore safely, he tells Div Akvan that he wants to be thrown into the rocky mountain. The demon does the exact opposite, as Rustam expects, and he hurls Rustam into the sea. Rustam, using one hand, fights the creature in the sea, and after that swims safely to shore. There are 3 interpretations of this story, and I'm summarizing the research here. Interpretation number 1, good versus evil, that is, human versus the demon. Interpretation 2, human and demons are similar. Interpretation 3, human and demon differences are unclear. Interpretation 1, good versus evil, human versus demon. Throughout the Shahnama, Rustam is the hero of many stories, being good, wise, and chivalrous, and dutiful to the king. In fact, Rustam is described as a warrior with superhuman strength and wisdom. In contrast, the demon is cruel, bullying, and untrustworthy, and has an evil mind. These opposing characteristics are depicted in the 16th century manuscript painting. Rustam outwits the demon, knowing that the demon doesn't do oaths or promises. It is this bipolar presentation of wisdom and goodness versus cruelty and bullying. Div Akvan argues that Iranian mythology is rooted in the theory of opposites. This includes battling between good and evil and for light and darkness. They argue that the Shahnama is the manifestation of these Iranian beliefs. Throughout the Shahnama, demons are forces for material destruction, tempting humans towards evil. Rustam is wearing a full armor with a leopard helmet, tiger skin, and holding his sword. The demon is wearing split skirt, revealing genitals, perhaps revealing the immorality or uncivilized personality of the devil. The revealing of the genitals is a 16th century development and is not depicted in earlier centuries. In contrast, Rustam is depicted as peaceful, almost as if he is continuing to nap. In fact, in the text, he is fearful, worried, anxious when he is caught by the div. He thinks about his death and the downfall of his king. Stupidity of the demon is emphasized when we look down the painting and see that there are people safely swimming in the sea that Rustam is about to be thrown into. The picture is meant to illustrate the moral, physical, and emotional difference between the man and the demon. Interpretation 2. Human and demons are similar. Both Div Akvan and Rustam are represented as tricksters, both symbolized as like lines in text. Rustam is a trickster, consistently wins through trickery. Rustam's helmet with the lion head is representative of a trickster. The Div Akvan is also described as being like a lion. The symbolism of the lion on both indicates both are tricksters. Rustam is just a better trickster. In fact, Davis argues that the original given name for Rustam is I-Dastan, which translates to the trickster. Evidence for this is based on the translated text. Both the Div Akvan and Rustam are described as lions. Rustam is as fierce as a lion, and Div's disguise is like a lion. After Rustam gets out of the sea, he went to find his horse. He was described as prowling lion by the herdsmen. When he found his horse, he got on it and drove off to the rest of the herd, causing the herd of horses to trample away. Note, this is similar to what the Div Akvan did at the beginning of the story. Like a lion, Rustam roared. When the herdsmen chased after him, Rustam killed 2 of them. Rustam is not all good. In fact, Rustam is sometimes savage like the demon, like the story of killing of Div Akvan. Later in the day, when Rustam comes back looking for another battle, the Div Akvan reproaches him for seeking more battles. Rustam violently kills the demon by lassoing him and striking an axe on the demon's head, crushing his brain, head, and shoulders so they become a mass, and then Rustam decapitates the body of the demon. Not only is Rustam not all good and wise, his victories are argued as being ambiguous. He is not a clear winner and hero in all instances. Did he actually win when he was thrown in the water? He had to kill serpents, like killing his enemy. Rustam is killed, but he also kills his killer, which turns out to be his brother, in the last gasp. This ambiguity and partial victory makes him a man and a human. Davis concludes that the difference is that a demon cannot occasionally choose between divinity and chaos. Rustam is able to because he occupies both worlds, while the demon cannot. Demon is not evil and stupid, but he does not occasionally make a move to an ordered and chivalric world like Rustam. Interpretation number 3. Human and demon differences are unclear. Peirce argues that the interaction between human and demon blurs differences between them. The nature of human and demon is not binary. Demons depicted as material beings living alongside humans. Physical descriptions are similar, possessing a head, arms, legs, face, muscles, wears jewelry and clothes, and can speak and communicate with humans. Demons reproduce and have their own offspring like humans. In another story, in the Shahnama, the airman, known as the highest demon or destructive spirit, has an offspring, the black demon. Interestingly, Ahriman himself is considered to be a demon because he chose to be evil. Born as a twin, he ripped himself out of his mother womb to be the firstborn to inherit his father's throne. Battles involving demon have injuries to flesh and blood in the Shahnama. Heroes fight and kill demons in the same way as humans. For example, Husham's killing of the black demon involves cutting the demon in half from head to toe, severing its head and peeling its skin. Demons are subdued and captured to serve humans as teachers and builders. This is a case of Ahriman's minions being captured by Shah Tamarat, who forces them to serve him, including teaching the Shah how to read and write. The interpretations about humans and demons. The first one reflects the demons as a continuum from being or having an evil spirit to embodying a human form-like creature. This shows our innate concern with what might be same and different with demons and humans, the morals and actions that define us as humans. Perceptions of good and evil are reflected in the artwork with other religion and cultures. Example, Adam and Eve and the serpent, Medusa as a gorgon and human, and the 10-headed demon king of Ravana. Depictions of the scenes from 1300 to 1850. I will now present images of the illustrations I found in the 1300 to mid-19th century. This includes earliest manuscript illustrations found circa 1330 to 40, 16th and 17th century painted illustrations in manuscripts from Iran, 16th and 17th century paintings from India, lithographs from India and Iran from Tabriz, Bombay, and Tehran. The earliest depictions of this story are found circa 1330 to 40. This is the earliest available manuscript painting of this scene. As you can see, Rustam is looking very Mongolian. This is considered quite unique and original, and is not like many of the later ones. Rustam is the hero, is in the water defending himself against a sea monster after he is thrown in the sea. The Div Akvan looks on from the shore. Note that this is an early painting, focused mainly on Rustam as the hero and the demon is shown only in the corner. The Div Akvan is depicted as having fangs and horns with pale skin. Examples from manuscript art in the 16th and 17th century are shown here. As mentioned earlier, this was the period of prolific production of illustrated Shahnama manuscripts. Many were scenic and moralistic, depicting the contrast between the two characters. The demon is strong and brawny and large, with a careless look on his face, while Rustam is calm, resting, and composed, and not afraid. Rustam is portrayed with his tiger skin clothing and his leopard skin helmet. This is actually how Rustam is described in the text, and how illustrators have captured Ferdowsi's description of Rustam. The demon Div Akvan has dark skin color, bells, claws, fangs, antler, split skirt, and genitals exposed. These are not in the text by Ferdowsi. They may be concepts of monster in Persian populist culture. Many in the mid-17th century were illustrated by Mulan Musavir, active 1630 to 97, and the colored skin, flaming eyelids, strange-shaped horns are typical of this work. More example manuscript art in the 16th centuries are depicted below. Most manuscript paintings of this scene were very similar and did not change much. Here are two more examples. Usually, Rustam, he is the center of the paintings in the Shahnama, but in this story, the contrast between the demon and the human is so important that the demon takes equal part of the painting and the focus in many ways of them. This is actually very unusual based on examples of illustrations of humans and demons together that I found. Most demons are not much bigger and are usually shown being killed. However, in this story, the Div Akvan is generally portrayed larger, again contrasting the brainy Rustam and the brawny Div. Notice the background shows the sea as being friendly and the mountains with lions, highlighting the stupidity of the demon. Examples of art with the same themes from India. Paintings from India of the same scene are very similar to the paintings in Persian manuscripts in terms of placement, scenery, and dress. However, the demon is clearly the subject of interest, with the original scene with the sea is even missing. The demon has claws, antlers, skirts, bells, later in Indian examples, a closed skirt. The goal appears to be making the demon look as grotesque and silly as possible, and to contrast the demon's appearance from Rustam. My personal opinion is that the demon has some features which seem to be feminized: the tapered waist, the thin limbs, the wide hips, and the pronounced breasts. This is unlike the strong man type portrayal in 16th and 17th century manuscripts. Again, we see this feminization of the demon in lithographs. The contrast from early 16th century manuscripts may be due to the technology itself, which could not capture the same amount of details as in a painting. Some lithographs' illustrations were simple and schematic, using line hatching and shading. Some were more sophisticated, with composition modeling like the center one. The one on the right is done by Miraz Akoli, a well-known lithograph illustrator. His influence was seen in how he changed the face and expression as well as the clothing of the Div Akvan. To conclude, portrayals of demons reflect popular cultural sentiments of what a demon would look like, even as the description is not indicated in the text. The illustration of this scene in manuscripts show what is valuable to Persian culture, like Rustam and his wisdom and virtues. Illustrations in manuscripts also depended on the preference of the royalty who commissioned the manuscript and certain artists who influenced the depiction greatly. Complex interpretations about the story challenge the simplistic view that good and evil are binary, and the idea that there is a clear distinction between humans and demons' moral, emotional, and physical characteristics. Illustrations of the Div Akvan were slightly different when produced in different countries, with different artists, and with the rise of the lithograph. India's depiction of the same scene is very similar to Iranian manuscripts, and Iranian lithographs were influenced by Indian lithographs. Here are some notes I used to create this resource. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.